The Great Brinks robbery occurred on January 17, 1950 in Boston, Massachusetts, and became one of the most infamous crimes in American history. A gang of 11 men, led by Tony Pino, meticulously planned the heist over 2 years, carefully studying the Brinks armored car depot and its security measures. The gang wore masks, gloves, and Navy-style coats to avoid identification and used duplicate keys to assess the facility. On the night of the robbery, the group entered the depot just before closing, tied up the employees, and stole $2.7 million in cash, checks, and money orders, which would be equivalent to over $30 million today. This operation was executed with precision, leaving behind almost no physical evidence. The gang initially evaded capture as the FBI and local authorities struggled to find leads. However, internal disputes among the criminals and informants eventually unraveled the plot. In 1955, just 2 days before the statute of limitations would have expired, gang member Joseph Specs O'Keefe was upset that he did not receive his share of the loot, and he cooperated with authorities. His testimony led to the arrest of 8 members of the gang, and the defendants were convicted in 1956, receiving sentences ranging from life imprisonment to long-term incarceration. Despite their convictions, the majority of the stolen money was never recovered, as the gang had successfully hidden or spent much of it. The Great Train robbery occurred on August 8th, 1963, in Buckinghamshire, England. A gang of 15 men, led by Bruce Reynolds, carried out one of the most famous heists in British history. The gang targeted the Glasgow to London Royal Mail train, which was carrying a large quantity of cash. The robbers stopped the train by tampering with the signals and forcing it to halt at Berdego Bridge. They overpowered the train's crew, including the driver, Jack Mills, who was struck on the head and suffered injuries that would affect him for the rest of his life. The gang then unloaded 120 mailbags filled with £2.6 million in unmarked banknotes, which would be equivalent to £58 million today. The criminals planned the heist meticulously, even practicing their moves at a rented farmhouse nearby. And after the robbery, they retreated to this farmhouse to divide the earnings. However, their plan unraveled when police discovered the hideout, abandoned but filled with forensic evidence, including fingerprints. The investigation led to the arrest and conviction of most of the gang members, and sentences ranged from 20 to 30 years in prison for those directly involved. Bruce Reynolds evaded capture for several years, but was eventually apprehended in 1968. Notably, Ronnie Biggs, one of the robbers, escaped from prison in 1965 and lived as a fugitive for decades before voluntarily returning to the UK in 2001. Although a significant portion of the stolen money was never recovered, the robbery left a lasting legacy in criminal history. The Lufthansa heist was a major robbery that took place on December 11, 1978 at John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York City. This operation was meticulously planned by a crew connected to the Lucchese crime family. The mastermind behind the heist was James Burke, a notorious associate of the Lucchese family, often referred to as Jimmy the Gent. The heist targeted the Lufthansa cargo building, where millions of dollars in untraceable cash and jewelry were stored. The robbers gained entry with the help of insider Louis Werner, an airport employee and Lufthansa cargo agent who provided key information. The crew subdued employees and bypassed alarms, loading about $5 million in cash and $875,000 in jewelry into their vehicle. Despite its success, the aftermath of the heist was plagued with paranoia and violence. Burke, fearing betrayal, orchestrated the killing of several associates involved in the planning or execution of the robbery. These killings made it difficult for law enforcement to build a case, and Louis Werner, the insider, was eventually convicted for his role in the heist. But the main players, including Burke, were never charged directly for the robbery. Burke was later convicted of unrelated crimes and died in prison in 1996, and this heist became infamous for its audacity and brutality. Its story inspired numerous books, documentaries, and movies, including the 1990 film Goodfellas, which depicted the crime and its fallout. This case remains one of the most iconic examples of organized crime in American history. The Knightsbridge security deposit heist occurred in London, England on July 12, 1987, and is one of the largest and most notorious bank heists in history. The mastermind behind the operation was Valerio Vesecchi, an Italian criminal known for his involvement in over 50 armed robberies in Italy. Vesecchi, along with his accomplices, entered the Knightsbridge Safe Deposit Center under the pretense of renting a safety deposit box. Once inside, the group overpowered the staff and security guards. They hung a close sign on the entrance to prevent customers from entering and spent hours breaking into deposit boxes. The gang used tools to pry open the boxes, taking cash, jewelry, and other valuables. The total value of the stolen goods was estimated to be between 60 to 100 million pounds, equivalent to hundreds of millions in today's value. The heist was meticulously planned, but police found critical clues, including fingerprints left at the scene, which led them to identify Vesecchi as the ringleader. Vesecchi fled to South America, but later returned to England to retrieve some of the stolen loot. Upon his return, he was arrested, and Vesecchi was convicted and sentenced to 22 years in prison in the United Kingdom. Despite his criminal lifestyle, he was known for his charisma and flamboyant personality, and while serving sentence, Vesecchi reportedly expressed no regret about his criminal career. Although some of the stolen valuables were recovered, a significant portion remains unaccounted for, adding an element of mystery to this extraordinary crime. The Gardner Museum heist took place on March 18, 1990, at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston, Massachusetts. It is considered the largest art theft in history, with an estimated $500 million worth of artwork stolen. In the early hours of the morning, two men dressed as police officers gained entry to the museum by claiming they were responding to a disturbance. The museum's security guards, against protocol, allowed them inside, and once this happened, the thieves overpowered the guards, tying them up in the basement and spending 81 minutes stealing 13 pieces of art. The stolen works included masterpieces by Vermeer, Rembrandt, Degas, and Manet, as well as a Chinese bronze vessel and a Napoleonic flag finial. The thieves skillfully cut some paintings from their frames, leaving the frames behind, and despite extensive investigations by the FBI and other agencies, the identity of the thieves remains unknown. Multiple theories have been proposed, including connections to organized crime, but no suspects have been officially charged with the theft. The stolen artwork was unfortunately never recovered, and the museum has offered a $10 million reward for information leading to the recovery of the artwork, making it one of the largest bounties ever offered for stolen property. This case remains open, with law enforcement continuing to follow leads, and the Gardner Museum still displays the empty frames where the stolen paintings once hung as a symbol of hope for their recovery. This heist exposed significant security flaws in museums at the time. The Van Gogh Museum robbery occurred in the early hours of December 7, 2002, in Amsterdam, Netherlands. Two thieves broke into the museum by climbing onto the roof and smashing a reinforced glass window, and within minutes, they escaped with two valuable paintings: View of the Sea at Scheveningen and Congregation Leaving the Reformed Church in Nuenen, both by Vincent van Gogh. The combined value of the stolen works was estimated at $30 million. The heist was well planned, but not without evidence left behind. The thieves triggered the museum's alarm system, and police responded quickly, but the criminals managed to flee before law enforcement could arrive. Investigators found a ladder and a rope hanging from the roof, as well as forensic evidence, including DNA at the scene. Two men, Octavio Vecellio and Rafael Imparali, were eventually arrested and charged in connection with the robbery. They were convicted in 2004 after investigators linked them to the crime through DNA evidence and other circumstantial links. Vecellio and Imparali received sentences of 4 and 4.5 years in prison, respectively. Despite the convictions, the paintings remained missing for over a decade. In 2016, the two Van Gogh masterpieces were recovered in Italy during a raid on property owned by Raphael, who was also implicated in drug trafficking and organized crime. The recovery of the paintings was a significant victory for art and law enforcement communities. The stolen works were later returned to the Van Gogh Museum, where they were restored and placed back on display. The Antwerp diamond heist, often called the heist of the century, occurred over the weekend of February 15th to 16th, 2003, in Antwerp, Belgium, home to one of the world's largest diamond districts. A group of skilled thieves broke into the underground vault of the Antwerp Diamond Center, stealing an estimated $100 million worth of diamonds, gold, and other valuables. The vault was considered one of the most secure in the world, featuring multiple layers of security, including infrared heat detectors, seismic sensors, a magnetic field, and a steel door with over 100 million possible combinations. The heist was masterminded by Leonardo Notarbartolo, an Italian criminal with a history of diamond theft. Notarbartolo posed as a diamond merchant for years to gain access and gather intelligence. The team disabled security systems, bypassed high-tech locks, and meticulously planned their escape, leaving little physical evidence behind. Despite the intricate planning, a key mistake led to their downfall. The group discarded incriminating evidence including surveillance tapes and receipts. In a nearby wooded area, a farmer discovered the trash and alerted authorities, and Notarbartolo was arrested shortly after, and DNA evidence, as well as other clues, linked him to the crime. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison, though some of his accomplices were never caught. The majority of the stolen loot was never recovered, leading to speculation that it was sold on the black market. Notarbartolo claimed that the heist was part of an insurance fraud scheme orchestrated by insiders in the diamond industry, though this has never been proven. The Scream heist took place on August 22, 2004, at the Munch Museum in Oslo, Norway. Two iconic paintings by Norwegian artist Edvard Munch, The Scream and Madonna, were stolen in a bold daylight robbery. The paintings, collectively valued at over $120 million, were among Munch's most famous works, making their theft a shocking cultural loss. The robbery was carried out by two masked and armed men who stormed into the museum during opening hours. They threatened staff and visitors at gunpoint before ripping the paintings from the walls. The robbers fled in a getaway car, driven by a third accomplice, leaving behind stunned witnesses. The entire heist lasted just a few minutes, and the audacity of the crime, as well as the value of the stolen artwork, drew global attention. Norwegian police launched an intensive investigation, eventually linking the robbery to a local criminal gang. Several suspects were arrested in 2005, and 6 men were ultimately charged in connection with the heist, with sentences ranging from 4 to 8 years in prison. The motive for the theft was believed to be financial gain, possibly to leverage the paintings as ransom or collateral for criminal activities. However, recovering the artworks proved challenging. After 2 years of negotiations and police efforts, the Scream and Madonna were finally recovered in August 2006. Both had suffered damage, but were later restored and returned to the museum. The Northern Bank robbery took place on December 20th, 2004, in Belfast, Northern Ireland, and remains one of the largest cash robberies in UK history. The robbers stole £26.5 million from the headquarters of Northern Bank. This heist was meticulously planned and executed, involving a hostage situation in an elaborate scheme to gain access to the vault. The operation began when armed men, disguised as police officers, entered the homes of 2 Northern Bank employees. On the evening of December 19th, they held the employees' families hostage, forcing the workers to cooperate under the threat of harm. The employees went to work the next day as instructed, acting normally, but later facilitated the thieves' access to the bank's vaults. The cash was loaded onto vans and taken away with remarkable efficiency, and the robbery caused widespread shock and speculation about who was responsible. Many believed the Provisional Irish Republican Army orchestrated the heist, though the group denied involvement. Investigations by the Police Service of Northern Ireland and international authorities failed to yield definitive evidence tying any specific individuals or organizations to the crime. Only a small amount of the money stolen was ever recovered, and no one was ever convicted for carrying out this heist. A handful of suspects were arrested over the years, but lack of evidence led to their release. The scale of the operation, the skill involved, and the ability to launder such a large sum of money have kept the robbery shrouded in mystery. The Northern Bank robbery had significant political and economic repercussions in Northern Ireland, increasing tensions during a fragile peace process and leading to the withdrawal of certain high-denomination banknotes that were stolen. The crime remains unsolved to this day. The Banco Central heist occurred over the weekend of August 6th to 7th, 2005 in Fortaleza, Brazil. A group of thieves pulled off one of the largest bank robberies in history, stealing approximately $70 million from the Banco Central vaults. The heist was executed with extraordinary planning and precision, taking months to prepare. The gang rented a property near the bank, posing as a landscaping company, and over the course of 3 months, they dug a 78-meter underground tunnel leading directly to the vaults. The tunnel was highly sophisticated, equipped with lighting, ventilation, and reinformed walls to prevent collapse. Once inside of the vaults, the thieves bypassed security systems and carefully removed stacks of untraceable, non-sequential banknotes. The heist was discovered the following Monday when bank employees returned to work, and by then, the thieves had already disappeared with the cash. The audacity of the operation captured global attention and left authorities scrambling for leads. In the aftermath, Brazilian police launched a massive investigation, arresting over 40 individuals connected to the crime. Some of the culprits were captured after flaunting newfound wealth, which drew suspicion, and a portion of the stolen money was recovered, but the majority remains missing. Several key members of the gang, including Mastermind, Antonio Josevin, Alves Doris, were apprehended and received lengthy prison sentences. Others managed to evade capture entirely. The Banco Central heist is notable for its intricate planning and the large amounts stolen. The Securitas Depot robbery took place on the night of February 21st, 2006 in Tunbridge, Kent, England. It remains the largest cash robbery in British history, with £53 million stolen. The heist was carried out by a gang of armed criminals who meticulously planned the operation over several months. The robbery began when the depot manager was abducted on his way home by men impersonating police officers. At the same time, his wife and young son were taken hostage from their home. Under pressure, the manager was forced to cooperate, allowing the gang access to the depot. The robbers, armed and wearing masks, restrained 14 depot staff members with cable ties and forced them to assist in loading the cash into a truck. The gang fled with the money, leaving the hostages unharmed but traumatized. The robbery was meticulously organized, involving fake police uniforms, multiple getaway vehicles, and the use of a secluded farm as a staging ground. Police launched a massive investigation, leading to the arrest and conviction of several individuals. Among them was Lee Murray, a former mixed martial arts fighter, believed to be one of the masterminds. Murray fled to Morocco, but was arrested and eventually sentenced to 25 years in prison there, as Morocco does not extradite its citizens. Several other gang members were apprehended and received lengthy sentences, ranging from 15 to 30 years. Despite these arrests, much of the stolen money, around £32 million, remains unaccounted for, believed to have been hidden or laundered. The Great Bank of Baghdad robbery occurred on July 11, 2007 in Baghdad, Iraq. It is considered one of the largest bank heists in history, with an estimated $282 million stolen. The theft took place at the Dar es Salaam Investment Bank, a private institution in Baghdad. The robbery was reportedly carried out by insiders, who were two security guards working at the bank. These guards were believed to have used their positions to bypass security measures and gain access to the vaults. Speculation at the time suggested that the operation might have had connections to powerful militia groups, as carrying such a large sum of cash out of the bank and through Baghdad would have required significant protection or influence. The stolen money, primarily in US dollars, was never recovered, and the perpetrators were never officially apprehended. The lack of arrest fueled suspicions of corruption or complicity by local authorities or powerful factions. It also raised concerns about the fragile state of Iraq's institutions during the post-invasion period, when the country was still grappling with widespread violence and instability. The case remains unsolved, and the money's fate is unknown. The robbery highlighted the challenges that Iraq faced in securing its financial institutions amid the broader chaos of the time. It also stands as a symbol of the corruption and lawlessness that plagued the country during the years following the 2003 US-led invasion. Despite internal interest in the heist, the full details of how the operation was carried out and who was ultimately responsible remains a mystery. The Harry Winston heist took place on December 4th, 2008 at the luxury jewelry store in Paris, France. Four armed robbers, some disguised as women in wigs and makeup, stormed the store near the prestigious Champs-Élysées. The gang threatened staff and customers with handguns and forced employees to open display cases and safes. Over a span of approximately 20 minutes, they stole diamonds, watches, and other high-end jewelry valued at around $108 million. The thieves operated with precision, demonstrating detailed knowledge of the store layout, including the location of hidden safes. This led to suspicions of an inside connection. The heist was later linked to the infamous Pink Panthers, a loose network of criminals from the Balkans known for their high-profile jewelry robberies worldwide. French police launched an extensive investigation, eventually leading to the arrest of several suspects in 2009 and 2011. Key members of the gang, including Željko Milovanovic, a reputed Pink Panthers associate, were apprehended. Some stolen goods were recovered, but a significant portion of the loot remains missing. In 2015, 8 individuals were convicted in connection with the heist, and sentences ranged from 9 months to 15 years in prison, depending on their level of involvement. The trial shed light on the elaborate planning and coordination behind the robbery, as well as the Pink Panthers' broader network. The Carlton hotel heist was a daring jewelry robbery that occurred on July 28, 2013, in Cannes, France. The target was the prestigious Carlton Intercontinental Hotel, a venue renowned for hosting exhibitions of luxury jewelry. During a high-profile diamond show organized by the Levy of Jewelry House, an armed robber managed to steal approximately $136 million worth of jewels in broad daylight. This made it one of the largest jewelry heists in history. The heist was executed by a single individual wearing a hat and scarf who entered the exhibition room and waved around a handgun. Without firing a shot, the thief forced the employees to hand over a collection of diamonds, rubies, and other precious gems. The entire operation lasted only a few minutes, and the thief fled quickly and without resistance. The robbery was notable for its simplicity, as no hostages were harmed, and the thief managed to evade capture during the initial manhunt. Authorities suspected that the perpetrator may have had connections to the infamous Pink Panthers, but despite extensive investigations, including reviewing security footage and deploying forensic teams, the thief and the stolen jewels were never recovered. The Carlton hotel heist remains unsolved, cementing its place in criminal history as an extremely bold and meticulously planned robbery. Its scale and the inability to apprehend the perpetrator have left a lasting impression on law enforcement and the luxury jewelry industry. The Dresden Green Vault heist took place on November 25, 2019 at the historic Green Vault Museum in Dresden, Germany. The Green Vault houses one of Europe's oldest and most valuable treasure collections. Early in the morning, a gang of thieves broke into the museum after disabling the power supply, cutting off security alarms and streetlights. Using an axe, they shattered a glass display case and stole 21 priceless items, including diamond-encrusted jewelry and historic artifacts. The value of the stolen items was estimated at over $125 million, making it one of the largest art heists in modern history. This heist was highly organized and executed in under 5 minutes, where surveillance footage showed 2 masked individuals carrying out the theft, but investigators believed a larger network was involved. The robbers evaded immediate capture, sparking an international manhunt. In 2020, German police made significant progress, arresting members of the Notorious Remo clan, a criminal family based in Berlin with a history of high-profile heists. The investigation revealed the group's involvement through DNA evidence, surveillance analysis, and other forensic clues. 6 suspects were charged with organized robbery and arson, as the power outage was linked to a nearby fire deliberately set as a distraction. The trial began in 2022, and in 2023, 5 members of the Remo clan received prison sentences ranging from 4 to 6 years. Some stolen items were recovered in December 2022, following negotiations with the suspects' lawyers, but many pieces remain missing, likely broken down or sold on the black market. The loss of these irreplaceable artifacts continues to be a blow to heritage preservation. Thank you very much for watching this video, and if you learned something, make sure to leave a like. Comment down below your thoughts on any of the heists I discussed in this video, and subscribe if you would like to see a part 2 or more videos like this one. Thank you again, and goodbye.